Hey friends, it's Jennifer here. Welcome back to the podcast. This is a Monday Fire episode for you, brought to you by myself. After Jason and I just had an interesting walk recently around the neighborhood. So, as most of you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't already. We are knee deep in the middle of the whole coronavirus thing that's going on in our nation right now. And we're also in the middle of 4 kiddos at home that we're trying to learn how to homeschool. And so right now, the fresh air in Kansas City is just, it's salve to the soul, right? It's just getting the sun coming out and hearing birds chirping and seeing trees that have been dead all winter come back to life. I'm like, oh, it feels so hopeful. So we've been trying to go on walks. Almost every day. And it's been really interesting to go on walks in the last week or so, because since we are in the middle of social distancing and in the middle of, a shelter at home order in Kansas City, it's interesting to see how people react when you meet them on a walk. Now it's one thing when you are on the same sidewalk and you're meeting one another. And it's interesting, like sometimes we'll be walking and somebody will go off the sidewalk on their side and we'll go off the sidewalk on our side and nobody's actually on the sidewalk, but we've got the 6 feet in the middle, right? But other times what I've noticed is we'll meet somebody on the sidewalk and there's literally zero eye contact, almost as if somebody's concerned just about meeting eyes with us. And Jason and I were talking about a trip that he took to the grocery store this morning to get groceries, because how many of you know that with a family with 4 kids, there's always a grocery list. And so Jason was telling me how strange kind of the visits are to the grocery store right now, that people they seem a little tense with one another, a little short, a little put out. And he was listening to a thing on the news about someone who apparently was buying a lava lamp. And he was out shopping and had a lava lamp in his cart, and people were upset at this person and publicly shaming him on the news media because what's somebody doing buying a lamp right now, a lava lamp in the middle of coronavirus. And so it made me think and make me want to do this Monday Fire episode for you about a prophetic word that the Lord gave me right after the halftime show of the Super Bowl this year. Now, let me start by saying this. What I'm about to share with you in the next couple of minutes is not a political statement. And I also don't feel like being debated with you in my DMs, honestly. It's okay to hear something that someone says and maybe disagree with it and not have to send them a nasty DM. Like, that's okay. Did you know you can just like unsubscribe, unfollow, whatever, but you don't have to just always give your opinion. If you want to give your opinion, I really highly encourage you to start your own podcast, your own Facebook page, and all of the things. And so it's not for you that I'm probably doing this episode, but it's more for people who are in alignment with what I'm about to say. So right after the Super Bowl, I actually did a post on my social media. I was somebody that was not, I did not enjoy the halftime show at all. And by the way, you can DM me from 100 of different angles about that, and you're not going to change my opinion on that, and I'm not going to change yours. And so let's just agree that we're all grown up enough to disagree on some things, okay? We don't have to agree with one another on 100% of the things 100% of the time. But I was not someone that supported the halftime show for many reasons. And it was after that halftime show in the week following, I had done a Facebook post that I ended up taking down simply because I was getting some really hateful DMs that were really unnecessary. And also some people were like commenting on posts that had to do with my children. And that's where I draw the line in the sand. So I took down the post. Here's what I would like to say. It became obvious to me in the week following the Super Bowl that our country was divided into two halves at that time. People who were like, oh my gosh, it's the best thing I ever saw. Go you women were amazing. This was amazing. Everything was amazing. And then the other half who were like, are you stinking kidding me? That was, just this close to being completely inappropriate. And I had kids in the room, et cetera, et cetera. Again, no need to send me a DM. But my Facebook feed was completely divided. Also, the people who I, love and do life with, we were completely sometimes divided on our opinions. And in praying about that the week after the Super Bowl, my spirit felt so heavy. And I just was like, Lord, what is this? And the Lord gave me a word for 2020, and I'm going to share that word with you today. I've kept it in my heart and only mentioned it once, just a little bit, because I was like, Lord, when is the right time for this? And I feel like the right time is now. So the Lord showed me right after the Super Bowl that this is the year 2020. And anytime you talk about 2020, whether it's 2020 vision or the television show 2020, there's like, you write out 20/20, right? So the number 2020 is always broken in half. And the Lord said, Jennifer, this is what the year is going to be symbolized with. It's the slash, the great divide. It is the great dividing year where people will go completely on one side or they're going to go completely on another. And I was like, oh my goodness, Lord. Okay. All right. And I was reminded, obviously, we're in an election year. Again, this is not a political statement, but I was thinking to myself, my Facebook feed is about to be inundated with people who are either on one side of the ticket or on the other side. And how many of you are like me and you almost really dread being on social media during an election season? I mean, let's just be honest. And so like, and who do we think we're like, whose mind are we even thinking we're going to change? But anywho, so I was thinking, you're right, Lord. This is the year of the great divide. This is the year of the slash down the middle of where people are going to fall so, far on one side or so far on the other. And it's almost like both sides are looking at each other thinking, are you kidding me? How can you be so blind? How can you not see it the way I see it? So what's interesting is, so I took that word from the Lord and I kind of tucked it in my heart because I was like, okay, I'm going to need 2020 vision and you're going to need 2020 vision to really be able to have eyes to see and ears to hear in the days and months and year to come, because this is an interesting year where we're going to want to fight with one another. But see, the thing that we have to remember that the enemy wants to trip us up with is that the fight is not against one another, you guys. The fight is not at all against one another. If you look at the book of Ephesians, it says, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the principalities. This is who our fight is with. It's not against flesh and blood. It's not an us versus them. It's not a me versus you. It's not a Republican versus Democrat. It feels that way, but it's the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. That's where the fight is at. It's not us versus them. Bringing it back to our walk and Jason's trip to the grocery store and where the world is currently at in the coronavirus situation, I've noticed that my feed is starting to be very divided in terms of how people are viewing our current situation in the United States right now. People are either going to conspiracy theory or they're going to get home, stay home, don't even go outside and take a walk. People are going completely in the opposite directions. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Lord. A third way this year, a third way that we're seeing this complete divide. And it's an interesting time because in the book of Revelations, which by the way, maybe you don't want to go read in a coronavirus. I'm just saying, you might pick something a little softer, something that's going to make you feel a little better than the book of Revelations. But in the book of Revelations, they talk about be you neither cold or be you not lukewarm, be either hot or cold. And it talks about because you're lukewarm, neither hot or cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. And so it's really interesting because it's hard to straddle some of these topics right now. You either really fall on the side of one line or fall on the other. And by the way, I think that that's okay. I think it's really important that right now in the year 2020, when lots of things are going sideways, that we really understand what side of that dividing line that we fall on and why. It's one thing to know where we fall, and it's another thing to know why. And so I just really want to encourage you today, if you're feeling like the people in your world, the people in your family, your friend group, your Facebook feed, if you're beginning to feel like, are people losing their ever-loving mind? They're not. But this is the year of the great divide where we're really going to see where people's hearts are at and where they fall on different issues. It started with the Super Bowl. It will end later this year with the election. And in the middle of that, we've got the coronavirus thing. I encourage you to look past just the fight between us and them and look past the it's me versus them and look past the how can they think one way and we think another? And remember that our fight is not against flesh and blood. It's not us versus them. It really is a spiritual fight. Get on your knees, sis. This is the time to fight on your knees. It's not a time to fight with your words on Facebook. It's a time to fight on your knees. Be in prayer. Be fasting. Be praying. Be leading your family. We're all going to make it. We've got this. I just want to be an encouragement to you today as you start your work week. Get on your knees, sis. That's where the battle is won. Bless you guys as we go about another week. I'll chat with you soon. Bye bye.